Are you looking to apply for your Australian citizenship and looking for information including timelines, costs, documents, and steps? Then you're in the right place. In this video, I will be walking you through all of that information. Australian citizenship is a three-stage process. Stage 1 is your application. In this stage, you will be looking at various criteria like your eligibility, your residency requirements. I'll walk you through what documents are needed and then obviously the application submission. In stage 1, you prepare your application. In stage 2, you attend the test and the interview. And stage 3 is where you attend your ceremony. Let's have a look at first criteria, which is to check your eligibility. There are different ways in which you can become an Australian citizen. One is through acquiring your permanent residency. Other could be that you've been born overseas with one parent being Australian citizen, or be a New Zealand citizen with a special SCV visa. For this video, I will be focusing on Australian citizenship through permanent residency. The second one is checking your residency requirements. If you're applying as a permanent resident, you must have completed 1 year as a permanent resident and have been living in Australia for the past 4 years. In this time frame, you should not have been absent from Australia for more than 12 months, including no more than 90 days in the last 12 months. Department of Home Affairs actually provides you a residency calculator, which you can find on their website. To use this residency calculator, you will need to know exact dates for information like when your PR was first granted, the date you first arrived in Australia, when do you intend to lodge your Australian citizenship application, and any travel in the last 4 years in and out of Australia. Once you have provided all of this information, the calculator will tell you if you're eligible or not. I've included the link to the calculator in the description below. Along with the residency requirements, you'll also have to meet other criteria, one of which is being of good character. What to provide for this, I will talk to that in the next section. The second one is knowledge of Australia. The citizenship test actually assesses this. The test is based on a common bond. The third one is language requirement. You need to be able to understand and speak common English. And the fourth one is close and continuing link to Australia. This is basically looking for information which says that you plan to reside in Australia in the future. I've talked about the details of this further in the video. Now that you've checked the residency and the eligibility requirements, let's have a look at the documents required. You will need to provide 3 documents that show your identity. This could be your birth certificate. If your birth certificate is not in English and any other language, then you will need to get it translated to English. The second one could be your Australian driver's license, and the third one could be your utility bills or your rates notices or any other bills that you have. Along with this, you will also need to provide the evidence of first arrival to Australia. You could do that by providing your current or previous passport, which was used for the first arrival and shows the stamp, or you could request a proof of entry from National Archives of Australia. In my case, I did not have my previous passport, so I just chose to request the proof of entry from National Archives of Australia. But in addition to that, I actually found my booking itinerary for first time when I'd come here. So I also attached that just in case, along with the proof of entry. If you've changed your name, then you will need to provide your proof of change of name. This could be your marriage certificate or a name change certificate from Department of Births, Deaths and Marriages. The next one is proving that you're of good character. Normally, you wouldn't have to provide anything in this instance as a part of your application, Department of Home Affairs requests a check on your behalf. Only in the cases where you have stayed in another country for more than 3 months is when you will need to provide an overseas panel clearance. Depending on your circumstances, you might need to provide other supporting documents. These could be any exceptions or special requirements. For a list of these, have a look at Department of Home Affairs website. For this video, let's jump into proving close and continuing link to Australia. As supporting documents to prove this, you can provide your payslips, your employment contract, or your rental agreement, or your rates notices. The intention of this is to provide proof that you will continue to have close relations with Australia even if when you're overseas. So far, you've checked your eligibility, you've looked at the residency requirements and gathered all your documents. The next step would be to fill out your application form and submit it. There are two ways you can submit the application. One is online and the second one is paper-based. Most people will be required to submit an online application. There is an option to submit a paper-based application, but this is if you've got no passport or your existing passport has expired. I will be focusing on online application submission in this video. To submit an application online, you will need to lodge it via your IMI account. If you already have an IMI account, you can use that to lodge this application, or if you don't have one, then you can create a new one. In your IMI account, you click on New Application. Under New Application, you will find the tab Citizenship. If you're applying citizenship through PR, you will be selecting Citizenship by Conferral. This should take you to the application form. The first section will be your application context. It's basically asking you whether you are currently in Australia or overseas and any special circumstances. Next, it will ask you for applicant details. This will include your passport details, your Aadhaar card details, or any national identity details. If you have any other passports, then you will need to provide details of those passports as well. The application also asks you about any previous applications and Australian visa grant number. In my case, I had my PR granted, so I just put that visa grant number in there. It will then ask you for your occupation, your current citizenship details, and your Australian license details. The application then asks you about your current residential address and any previous residential addresses. While you're filling out the previous addresses section, just make sure to have all the addresses in the past 5 years because you'll need to provide information about them. It also asks you to note down which is the closest immigration office to you. In my case, I selected Melbourne Regional Office, but I actually ended up attending the test and interview in Melbourne CBD. To know more information about how this happened, watch till the end of the video and I'll share my experience. The application will then ask you for any spouse details or if you've got children, their details. You will also need to provide your parent details. It not only asks for their name and date of birth, but it actually asks for more details like their passport details, their citizenship details, and any name change details. So make sure to have that handy. The application then proceeds to ask you about your pledge preference. You actually have two preferences. The first one is to say the oath with the words "under God," and the second one is to say it without the words "under God." The application will next ask you for your council's name, because your local council is where you will be attending your citizenship ceremony. The application also asks you if you want to take the pledge with another person at the same time. If you do, you can tick yes. If you don't, you can tick no. You will also need to provide your permanent visa grant details, like the date of grant and if you were on shore at that time. You will also need to have details about your previous Australian visas handy. It actually asks you about when your first Australian visa was granted and the date you first arrived in Australia. The application then moves on to ask about the countries you've travelled or resided in since the age of 18. Once you've provided that information, then the application proceeds to ask you about any of your proposed travel details in the next 12 months. I actually did have some travel planned in the next 12 months when I was doing this application, so I did put down my dates. but a couple of months later, those dates actually changed. So to know what to do in a situation like this, I've provided my experience at the end of the video. The next section on the application form is your character declarations. Have a read through them and answer as required. In my case, majority of it was a no. Once you've filled out the application and submitted it, you will need to attach your documents. You can do that by clicking on your application and selecting Attach Documents. While attaching the documents, you can choose the evidence type and the document type. Cost of the application at the time of making this video was $560. If you want to cross-check it, definitely visit Department of Home Affairs website to look at the fees and charges. Submitting your application will take you to stage 2 in this process, which is your test and citizenship appointment. You will receive an email to schedule a date and time. You will just have to wait until you receive this email. Once you've received it, you can select whatever date and time that suits you best. In my case, maybe because I put Regional Victoria as the nearest immigration office, I received a call from the department to ask if I could come into Melbourne to give the test because it will be a lot quicker. Once I'd confirmed that I can, within 2 to 3 days time, I received the email. For your test, you will need to prepare on the testable sections in our common bond. On the day of your appointment, arrive there about 15 to 20 minutes before. The person at the gate should let you in. Definitely carry your barcode. This will be on your appointment letter. When you scan this barcode, you will get a ticket. Once you've got the ticket, you just go in and wait until the agent calls you. They will ask you some general questions about yourself and will ask about any offenses, etc. during this interview. Once that's done, you will go ahead and take your citizenship test. The test has about 20 questions and it is a multiple choice test. You need to get about 75% to pass it, and you've got 3 tries. You will know whether you've passed or failed immediately after you've answered all of the questions. So if you've passed, congratulations, they will give you a letter saying that congratulations, you've passed your test. After you've passed the test, it's a wait period for another email, the approval of your citizenship from the department. Followed by that, you generally receive an invitation to attend the ceremony. This was then followed by an email from the council where they asked me to confirm my attendance to the ceremony and then fill out a couple of forms. Each council might have their own process, but this is what the council that I was in asked us to do. So we filled out 2 forms and then just submitted that. And once you've attended the ceremony, that's it. You get given your Australian citizenship certificate on that day. In my case, after the submission of my application, I received the test invite after a month's time. And then once I'd given the test and passed it, it took about 4 months to receive the approval of citizenship. And then immediately a month after, I was scheduled for a ceremony. But because I was going to be traveling overseas during the proposed ceremony time, I had to get my ceremony time changed to a later date. To do this, I literally just called up immigration and said, hey, I can't attend the ceremony, what can I do? They suggested that I get in touch with council and let them know that I can't do the proposed ceremony time and I can do the next one that's available. On the day of the citizenship ceremony, it just felt like for me it happened so quick. I arrived about 30 minutes before the ceremony time that was given because that's what my council had suggested in the letter. That's it. That's your 3-stage process on becoming an Australian citizen. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.